Raise your glass, my older sister said loud enough for the whole restaurant to turn. To us, the successful ones. And to you, she tilted her flute toward me, the only failure in this family. Mom and Dad are proud of us, not you. Forks paused midair. Laughter thinned, then returned in cautious ripples. My father stared at the salt shaker. My mother's smile tightened into something practiced. If you've ever been the quiet one at a loud table, you know how the room feels colder the second your name becomes a punchline. You know the burn that starts behind your eyes and settles in your throat like a swallowed match. You know the urge to defend yourself, and the knowledge it won't matter. Hi everyone, my name is Reina. I am the person people rely on and then forget. The one who shows up with jumper cables at midnight and leaves before the thank you text is typed. The one whose name is always on the paperwork, whose credit score is the family's shadow umbrella. I learned early how to be useful. Tonight I learned what it cost. I said nothing, future me will confess. Because silence can be a scalpel. It can separate the disease from the healthy parts without the theatrics of a scream. I let the clinking glasses finish their bright, brittle song. I smiled the way you smile at a storm from a window, counting the seconds between lightning and thunder. I studied the table the way a locksmith studies a door. My sister kept going, about her promotion, her trips, the friends who made it. My mother nodded, pride sparkling in her eyes like a necklace of tiny shards. My father cleared his throat to tell a story where I was the punchline and didn't know it. The waitress refilled my water. Her eyes softened, the way strangers' eyes sometimes do when they accidentally become witnesses. On my plate, a lemon wedge looked like a small yellow moon. I pressed it against the rim until the seeds bled out. There's a moment when humiliation turns quietly into resolve. It doesn't make a sound. It sets. Like concrete. I folded my napkin. Excuse me, I said to no one in particular and stood. My mother's hand hovered as if to pat mine, then retreated. My sister laughed and turned to her reflection in the window. The room stayed too bright. The door breathed cool night air each time it swung. I walked toward it, the laughter behind me thinning into distance, and as my fingers touched the handle, I began counting the ties I would sever, one by one, without anger, without noise, without leaving a mark visible to anyone but them. Because the second the night air hit my face, the list began writing itself in my head. Streetlights stacked coins of gold across the rain-damp sidewalk. I pulled my coat tighter and felt for the familiar weight of my keys. The same keys that had been copied, loaned, handed over too many times in too many small emergencies. I headed home, not fast, not slow, each step calibrated like a metronome. My apartment greeted me with the honest silence of rooms that belong only to you. I turned on the lamp by the couch. Warm light, fern shadows. The city hummed like a sleeping animal. I placed my phone face down and opened my laptop. Spreadsheet. Title, Strings. Line 1. Car, 2019 gray sedan. Registered owner, me. Primary driver, my sister, temporarily, since her license points made insurance unbearable. Insurance policy, mine. Payment, auto debit from my account, reimbursed whenever. Reimbursements had turned into emojis and promises. I remembered the night I'd handed her the spare key because her interview was at 7 a.m. and we're family. Line 2, family phone plan, 5 lines. Mine subsidized all. Their lines were too old to change plans. Streaming accounts under my email, passwords shared the way gossip was shared. Tiny things, but tiny strings woven tight can hold a bridge, or a harness. Line 3, apartment lease for my parents, temporary downsizing after Dad's back surgery. Leaseholder, me, because their credit had been scuffed by a medical bill they didn't mean to ignore. They paid sometimes late. Autopay in my name had kept the landlord patient. Line 4, the emergency card I'd added my sister to after she lost her wallet. I'd forgotten to remove her when she found it. I stared at the list, feeling the humiliation from dinner cool into something precise. Revenge, if that's what you want to call it, wasn't the plan. Boundaries were. But boundaries have teeth when they've been disrespected long enough. I started with the smallest cut. I logged into the phone plan and removed access to device upgrades, international roaming, and all the quiet perks they never registered but always used. Then I scheduled a planned separation for the end of the billing cycle. Gentle, clean, irrevocable. I opened the insurance portal, set the policy to my vehicle only, and revoked authorized drivers. I scheduled a lock change for my sister's spare key. A tow if the car wasn't surrendered by Friday. My name, my title, my choice. Every syllable a stitch closing a wound. When the last email was sent, I sat back, the room steady around me. My water glass left a circle on the wood that looked like an eclipse. I wiped it away. Tomorrow would be the first tug. And then the next. Morning arrived, the color of steel. My phone buzzed before coffee. Hiss. My gas card got declined? Your bank tripping. I let the coffee bloom pour. The message sat there toothy. I typed and deleted 3 answers. Then typed nothing at all. Silence, my sharp little instrument. First calls, the bank. Yes, remove authorized users ending with -0042. Yes, effective immediately. No, no further charges. The representative read the script with a kindness that felt like a hand on my shoulder. We confirmed a new card overnight to my address only, PIN updated. Somewhere a door shut softly. Next, the landlord. I'd like to end the autopay tied to my account by the end of the month and remove myself as financial guarantor. Yes, per clause 12, either party can terminate responsibility with 30 days notice. They can remain as tenants if they qualify on their own. Yes, I'll send the letter in writing. Then the car. I called the tow service the insurance recommended for voluntary surrenders. Pickup window Friday 9 a.m. to noon. Title in my name, spare key with me. Location will be provided day of. The dispatcher's voice was a clean, neutral line on the horizon. If this ever happened to you, say, same in the comments. Not out of spite. Out of relief that your breath still knows its own rhythm. By noon, my sister's text had multiplied. Assist, phone won't hotspot. Fix this. Assist, why is Netflix asking for a code? Assist, Reina. Seriously. I put my phone face down and opened the folder marked scans. I'd saved every contract, every amendment, every little IOU disguised as just for now. Paper remembered when people didn't. At 2:17 p.m. my mother called. I let it ring out. She texted, whatever it is, don't be dramatic. I exhaled and felt the old trigger tug. I didn't pick it up. By evening, a quiet thrill threaded through the fear. Power, when you've only ever used it to make others comfortable, feels shocking. Not loud. 'Tis true. I cooked 1 pot of lentils and listened to the rain autograph the windows. The city smelled of wet stone and something fresh. At 9:03 p.m. a final message from my sister. We're going out. You can sulk or you can grow up. I stared at the words until they softened at the edges. Then I added a new line to strings. Line 5. My voice, previously on their plan, billed under their approval. Effective now. Ported back to me. I closed the laptop, placed it gently on the table and set an early alarm. Friday was coming. Friday arrived wearing a sky so clean it looked ironed. At 9:11 a.m. my phone vibrated. Tow driver. I'm on the block. Gray sedan. You the owner? Yes, I said, the word ringing through me like a tuning fork. I'll meet you at the corner. The sedan was road-grimed, a coffee cup rattling in the console cradle. My sister stood beside it in a hoodie, disbelief evaporating into fury as the rollback truck eased to the curb. You're not serious, she said. I have errands. I sent a notice. My voice surprised me, not cold, just finished. I handed the driver the key, the title copy, the authorization. The hydraulic bed whined. The car winced upward. Neighbors paused, the way neighborhoods do when a small drama folds open. A toddler pointed, his mother tugged him along. My sister's boyfriend emerged from the doorway, chest inflated. You can't just take it, he bluffed. The driver glanced at my documents and then at him with a carpenter's boredom. Paper sings a simple, undeniable song. My sister looked at me one last time, searching for the old pattern. I gave her something else. A soft nod like the closing of a book. When the sedan settled on the truck, I felt something lift inside me. Not joy, not satisfaction. Space. A room reclaimed. They followed me for half a block, hurling names they'd saved for moments like this. Ungrateful. Ice Queen. We made you. The words slid off the morning like rain off oil. Back home I answered my mother's call. What is happening? She demanded. Your sister is crying. The neighbors are staring. I'm untying what I never should have tied, I said. You can stare too if you want. Or you can listen. Silence. I could hear her breath and a distant kettle. We'll talk tonight, she said finally, the way people say it when they plan to corner you with a chorus. Tonight I'll be resting, I replied. We can talk tomorrow at 3. Community center. The room with the ugly carpet. Bring any papers you have. I'll bring mine. She scoffed then softened. Don't do anything you'll regret. I almost laughed. I already did for years, I said. I'm done. We hung up. I opened strings and checked boxes. Insurance. Updated. Phone plan. Separation scheduled. Card. Users removed. Lease. Notice sent. The spreadsheet looked like a constellation. I traced it with my finger. At dusk, the city turned the color of wet clay. I lit one candle and watched its flame steady itself. In the quiet, a question rose and settled. When you stop paying the bill for your own erasure, what do you become? You become someone who keeps her own promises. Saturday, 2:58 p.m. I stood in the community center hallway, listening to the muffled thud of a basketball game and the hum of a vending machine. The carpet was indeed ugly, brown with arrows of teal like lost fish. I breathed in the smell of floor wax and old paper. I had a blue folder under my arm, a neat stack of contracts, receipts and printed emails. On the cover I'd written in small letters, proof of love. Not to show them. To remind me. Helping hadn't been a mistake. Leaving the door unlocked for the storm had been. They arrived in a weather front of indignation. My mother first, shoulders squared beneath a floral scarf. My father tired under his cap. My sister, sunglasses like armor. So, my mother said, sitting without looking at the chair, what's this performance? This is bookkeeping, I said. The practical kind and the emotional kind. I slid copies across the table. Here's the lease where I'm listed as leaseholder. Here is the clause that removes my financial responsibility with notice. Here is the insurance form with my name only. Here is the car registration with my name at the top. My sister snorted. You're really going to nickel and dime your family? Nickels and dimes sink boats, I said. I kept us sailing. You drilled holes. My father cleared his throat. Your mother's been worried sick. I softened to him the way daughters do when they remember bedtime stories and scraped knee bandages. I know, I said quietly. But worry isn't a blueprint. I laid out 3 options. Precise. No drama. 1. You refinance or transfer every obligation into your own names within 30 days. 2. You return anything legally mine or paid by me and I walk away clean. 3. We work with a financial counselor. I've pre-booked an appointment. And we design a plan that protects everyone's dignity, including mine. But either way, the ties I didn't consent to are ending. My mother's eyes flashed. Threats. Boundaries, I said. You taught me to lock the front door. I'm doing that. Just, metaphorically. My sister leaned forward, the sunglasses sliding down her nose. You're punishing us because you're jealous. Of what? I asked softly. The toast. We stared at each other, the fluorescent light making everything look too honest. I reached into the folder and pressed play on a voice memo. My sister's dinner voice filled the room. She's the only failure in this family. The echo of it hung there, ugly and thin. My mother looked away. I stood. I won't fund my own disappearance anymore, I said, wrapping the blue folder in my arms like a small, stubborn child I finally decided to protect. At 3:01, this room is reserved for a birthday party. We're done here. And as I reached for the door, my mother whispered, Raina, please don't. I already did, I said, and stepped into the hallway where the sound of squeaking sneakers and children's laughter felt strangely like absolution. They followed me out, arguments ricocheting in the fluorescent light. We raised you. Family sacrifices. You'll regret this. The words tried on their old shapes and found them suddenly too small. Outside, the afternoon had turned high and cloudless. We stood under the awning like exiles from different weather systems. My sister's phone lit her face pale. Card doesn't work, she said as if reading a diagnosis. Apartment emailed something about qualifying a loan. She glanced at me. This is evil. Clarity is not evil, I said. It's just bright. My father reached for my elbow then stopped. What do we do? He asked, the question an old, simple thing. Ask Raina. She'll fix it. You do what adults do, I said gently. You decide whether to take option 1, 2, or 3. All of them are work. All of them end with you standing without leaning on me like a crutch. I allowed a smile to soften it. I will help with information. Not with my back. They left in a tangle of huffs and half-sentences. I watched them go, then walked home slowly, the city laying out its ordinary wonders. A dog carrying its own leash, a child dragging a helium balloon that bumped street signs like a polite drum. When I reached my apartment, I brewed tea. I opened strings and checked fresh boxes. Phone plan separation date locked. Lease notice acknowledged. Car in possession. Emails saved. Appointments booked. A financial counselor for them on Tuesday at 10. A therapist for me Wednesday at 4. That evening, I packed a small box with the last few things of theirs that had drifted into my home. A scarf, a spare charger, a photo strip from a fair where we'd all looked like a version of happy. I labeled the box with a sticky note. Return. The word felt honest. Not revenge. Not exile. Return. At 9:27 p.m. my phone buzzed. A family group recording. I pressed play. My sister's voice shaking. Raina is cutting us off. She's acting like a stranger. My mother chimed in. After all we've done. Then a surprise. My father quiet. Maybe we leaned too hard. I paused the audio and set down my phone. The kettle clicked as it cooled. Somewhere outside, a siren threaded through the night like blue silk. I didn't sleep easily. Old patterns die with small funerals. When I dreamed I was knitting. Each knot was my name tied to something I used to carry. In the morning light my hands were empty and finally warm. By Tuesday the weather broke. A clean wind pushed through the streets and clouds moved like ships. At 10:41 a.m. my phone lit with unknown calls. The kind that only arrive when consequences do. The landlord, polite. Without your guarantee they don't qualify. We've given them a week to make arrangements. The insurance agent, matter of fact. Secondary drivers removed. The bank, bland. Charges from -0042 attempted and declined. At noon a message from my father. We're at the counseling office. Your mother is furious. Your sister's late. I blinked. They'd shown up. An hour later another message. One word. Stayed. A small warmth bloomed in my chest. Not victory, not that gaudy thing, but the quiet affirmation that sometimes the bright light does not burn. It grows. By Thursday the unravel had become visible. My sister posted a story with the caption, "People show their true colors." In the background boxes, the comments were pity, anger, and the internet's brand of fast righteousness. I turned my phone face down and watered the fern. That night, the night in the title I hadn't let myself say aloud yet, my mother called me in a panic. Her voice was brittle glass. "Raina," she breathed, "we have no car, no money, and no house. The tow, the bank, the landlord, it all happened. I don't know what to do." I closed my eyes. The sentence landed softly like something arriving late from a long trip. "I know," I said. "I told you the options. Did you go today?" A swallow. "We went," she said. "We argued. We stayed." The man said words like boundaries and enmeshment. I hated him. Then I hated myself for hating him. I opened the window. The city exhaled evening. "You don't have to hate anyone," I said. "You just have to choose. I will make tea. If you and Dad want to come, come. If you want me to help call the landlord with you, I will. But I won't put my name back on anything." A long silence. I could hear her breathing and, beneath it, the small sorrow of a person who's realized the ladder they've been climbing leans on the wrong wall. "We're coming," she said finally, soft as a thread. "Your sister?" "I don't know." "Leave that part for later," I said. "Come." I set out 2 cups and a third just in case. I placed the blue folder on the table not as a weapon but as a map. I turned the porch light on. And as the hallway's echo announced their steps, I felt the smallest part of me step out of the cold. They entered like weather, tired, damp at the edges, stripped of the day's performances. My mother's scarf hung crooked. My father carried his cap in both hands the way you hold a question. They stood in my doorway, seeing my life as if for the first time. Plants thriving, books with broken spines, the plain beauty of a small space arranged with care. I poured tea. They sat. No one reached for a script. "I am sorry," my mother said, and the simplicity of it broke something open behind my ribs. Not for the car. For the words. For the way we made you the rope and then blamed you when we leaned too hard. My father nodded, eyes wet. I forgot you were a person and not a plan. I breathed slow. Thank you, I said. I'm sorry too for doing everything quietly for so long that silence became our only language. We spoke like that, not wise, not neat, until the tea was gone and the room felt aired out. I called the landlord with them on speaker. We asked about a smaller unit they could qualify for a loan. There was one, an older place with too much charm and not enough closet. My mother's mouth tightened, then softened. We'll make it pretty, she said almost to herself. We checked bus routes. We looked at budgets. We scheduled 2 more counseling sessions. My parents made lists. I watched them become a team that didn't require my spine as scaffolding. It was the kind of miracle that looks like ordinary paperwork. At the door my mother paused. Your sister? She asked, the word a wince. She'll find a way, I said. But she won't find it through my accounts. A beat. My mother nodded. We'll tell her the same. After they left, I stood in the doorway with the city's breath on my face. The porch light drew a circle on the floor like a coin. I picked up the blue folder, opened it and removed one sheet. The audio of that toast, the one that had set all of this in motion. I deleted it. Not from history. From my house. I sat at the table that had become mine again. The kettle hummed. My fern's leaves lifted in the small draft, green and sure. I realized the revenge people will accuse me of wasn't flames and ruin. It was a lock finally turned on a door that had let the wind in for too long. It was a new rule. If you sit at my table, you sit with respect. I finished my tea and laid a clean page atop the strings. Title, Bridges. Under it just one line. Love that doesn't require erasing yourself.